Welcome to this short choose-your-own-adventure story. First, choose the character whom you would like to play for the remainder of this story. You may always come back and explore the other path afterwards. You sit on a table playing music for people whom you do not like. You have no quarrel with these people in particular, but being in their presence is a categorically unpleasant experience. You are not fond of the human race. Nevertheless, these people cluster around you and call your name. They love you, and they cannot tell that you hate them. They have no idea how you feel because you are a master at hiding it. They imagine that you are just another flowery fool singing and dancing because it is what you love to do. Let them believe whatever they like. A table full of self-righteous men and boys begin to stand. They look worried. One of them silences the evening din, and then you can hear what they hear. Hoofbeats and shouting. A raid is coming. What will you do? You pack your instrument up quickly and make your way to the door while cowards clamor for hiding places upstairs, and young boys prepare to put their lives where their mouths are. Or perhaps they will run. You will not be here long enough to find out. You clear the door. You are free for the moment. The street is empty. But you notice something that makes you stop. When you entered this tavern, the sign above the door read Magma, and now it reads something different. Yes, the result is an anagram, but the letters have not been switched around by a human's hand. Their cases have been changed. This is no ordinary mystery, but something much more interesting. You live for mysteries like this. What will you do? You set your pack down and stare intensely at the wooden letters above your head. You muster the deepest state of concentration you can given the tense circumstances, and then you play the appropriate open interval on your lute. You wait for the mist to clear as it normally would, but it does not. This is a stubborn illusion, it seems. Or maybe it is not an illusion at all. Normally, you would be able to tell if there were an optical illusion or some sort of neurochemical influence tagged to this particular point in space, but there is not. It is almost as though the matter of the wood itself has simply changed shape. This is very interesting, but you have spent too much time on it now. Raiders have begun to penetrate the front gate, and a motley crew of half-armored men have emerged from the Capitol building to defend it. It is too late to flee now. You have no remaining avenues of escape. What will you do? You shoulder your way back inside the tavern just before two large men close and bar the door behind you. Within, the people of Kitford do their best to make it look like the tavern is unoccupied. Candles are snuffed out, curtains are drawn. If everyone remains silent, perhaps the intruders will just pass on by. But not everyone does. Not 5 seconds after the last curtain has been drawn, a man gets to his feet. He has the aspect of a warrior, but not that of a soldier, and he wears around his neck the pendant of the moon god, Saloon. As the melee begins in the street outside, he begins to rally his fellow men. He believes he is a savior, but he is not. He is an idiot, and if he exits that door with any number of men, he will be compromising the lives of everyone within this building. Nevertheless, he is large, he is strong, and he is inspiring, and no one can stop him. He and a small crew of newly inspired zealots make their way towards the door. The idiot utters his holy war cry and throws the door wide open, and for a second you catch a glimpse of gory chaos in the street outside. Before anyone within the tavern can make a move to close the door, a body fills it. He is foreign, he is afraid, and he is being watched by his compatriots. He cannot be seen to run. He must go forwards, but he would do anything to escape the melee outside, so he enters the tavern. Two of his fellows fall in behind him, and a fight breaks out by the door. What will you do? More men pour through the door, and the ground floor of the tavern descends into chaos. This is exactly what you need to slip away and escape. You just need to find an opening. You bide your time in the shadows, and when you see your opportunity, you take it. You wind your way through men screaming and shouting, horizontally and vertically, until you make your way out of the door. You are on the street. The melee has moved towards the Capitol building, and you are momentarily alone with the dead and the dying. You set off at a trot towards Kitford's abandoned front gate, but you do not make it there because before you do, you collide with another person who is sprinting out of an alleyway. You fall, tumble, lose hold of your belongings, and then you scramble to your feet and face off against your opponent. What you see takes you by surprise, because standing in front of you is a woman, armed, armored, and dark-skinned. Women do not fight in the North. She is standing between you and your belongings. What will you do? She draws her sword, and you make your way towards her as non-threateningly as you can. You make it very clear that you are unarmed. She looks smug, superior. She wants you to fight her. She tosses her sword into the pile that is now both your belongings and hers, inviting you to attack her. You make your way forward slowly. You would rather not fight her, but you have no choice. When you are close enough, she makes the first move, and from that point you can tell that you are no match for her. You are roughly the same size, but the fight is over in seconds. The last thing that you can recall before losing consciousness is her knee rising twice between your legs. This is the end of Chapter 1 as it was originally told. Thank you for playing through this far. I invite you now to retrace your steps and see how the story would have gone if Hex had made different choices. Thank you. As you settle into your hiding place behind the Magma's bar, you are shocked to find yourself beside an enormous man. On his feet, he would stand perhaps 7 feet tall, but now he sits cradling his head in his hands, shaking, shivering, entirely despondent. He will not be fighting today. You remove your loot hastily from behind your back and summon the deepest concentration you can muster. It is not very deep, but it will have to do. It takes you 3 tries to successfully execute the Arcana, but once you do, the effect is immediate. The outside world recedes from your perception as you do from its own. You are still present, but it is as though you are viewing the little that you can see through a thick film. You cannot move, you cannot hear much, but you are safe so long as no one treads on your position unknowingly. Fortunately for you, nobody does. You remain in this state of deep meditation until after the battle has concluded. When you finally drop your veil of invisibility, you are met with the most unpleasant reports from all 5 senses. Humans are small, humans are petty, humans are bred to hate and kill and call it glory. And today, these people, however innocent they may be, have been forced to reap what they are bred to sow, and now they suffer for it. You get up and leave them in the dust. You do not want to be one of them. Congratulations, you have escaped unscathed. This is a superior outcome than the original player of this game achieved. I encourage you now to return and see what would have happened had Hex made different decisions. Thank you for playing. You begin to back away slowly. After all, she is armed and you are not, and even so, you have never been a great warrior. You look regretfully over your shoulder at your loot. You've never thought to lose it this way, but the decision has been made. You turn and run. She laughs at you quietly as you clear the alley and run towards the gate. Nobody blocks your way as you exit the large burning door and walk out onto the path towards freedom. Congratulations, you have survived. However, you have made decisions that led to Hex losing his most prized possession, decisions that his original player never would have made. So, I encourage you to retrace your steps and see if you can find a way out of this situation that does not result in such uncharacteristic behavior. Either way, thank you very much and have a great day. You gaze at the sign that now reads something different than it did 20 minutes ago as you back away from it, regretfully. You do love mysteries like these, but today you have decided to choose safety over intrigue. Uncharacteristic must not be your day. You make your way to the back gate. It is unoccupied as the town's attentions are elsewhere. You slip under it using a tunnel that you dug this morning with the help of an enormous badger. You hope you will see him again. perhaps you will. For now, you are free. Congratulations. You have made it out safe and with all of your belongings, but you failed to collect information that Hex will need later on in the story. So, I encourage you to retrace your steps and see if you can find an outcome in which Hex gleans this information and escapes with his life. Thank you, and have a great day. The front gate spouts a gout of flame as something large and hot is thrust through it. The men outside batter it until it splinters and cracks, and soon there is a hole large enough to admit a raider. A boy slips through it. He is hit by an arrow, but another one follows behind him and another behind him. The raiders know they have the advantage of preparation and that of numbers. They are confident that they will emerge victorious, and you are confident of that too. However, you have still made the decision to fight. It is unusual, especially for you. You unsheathe the knife that you keep on your ankle. It is your only weapon. You sink into a shadow behind a barrel and prepare to assault the first man who passes you. It is your only chance at a fair fight. When that man runs by, he is not a man at all, but a boy. It is too late to withhold your decision. You wouldn't even if you could. So, you tackle him. The two of you roll on the ground and you manage to sever an artery in his leg. His thrashing becomes less aggressive, less defensive, and more reflexive. And you stand up, but before you have time to collect your bearings, you are struck by someone and something. Before you hit the ground, you have lost sensation in your entire body. You are paralyzed. To everybody else, you look dead, but you are not. Your eyes continue to feed your brain images of blood and fire until long after the battle is over. As the grievers collect and tend to their dead and dying, they pass over you and tread on your corpse, even though it is not yet a corpse. This is not how you wanted to die. It takes you hours to slip away. At this point, you have likely realized that Hex is not a warrior, and you have found the only ending to this chapter at which Hex dies. So, I encourage you to retrace your steps and find an ending in which Hex keeps his life and perhaps acquires some more meaningful information along the way. Thank you for playing, and have a great day. You sit at a table playing a game of dice that you just learned with a group of men whom you do not know. You are a master at pretending to fit in places where you do not, but in a town as small as this one, the effort would be futile. So, instead, you play the next best character available to you. That is, the hardened but friendly traveler, worthy of respect but not fear. You smile and laugh as though your childhood were stern but healthy. Anything but the paranoia-inducing hell that trains you to look and listen out for every little detail that may come around to haunt you later. This is why you are the first to hear the sound of hoofbeats. A raid is coming, and you are the only one who knows it. What will you do? You turn to the man beside you. He's a middle-aged man with gray hairs and wiry muscles, and he commands more respect than any other man at the table. You casually draw his attention to the sound. He listens, registers, commends you, and then goes about organizing the proper response. It is all very effective, and you admire the way that he handles it. He sends one boy out the door to send a message, and then he quiets the room, and to your surprise, the bar room full of drunks and revelers listens to him. Windows are shuttered, candles are snuffed out. The people of Kitford are as ready as they can be for the coming attack. What will you do? You close your eyes and watch with your ears as chaos breaks loose outside. First, the gate comes down, then buildings are lit on fire, and then steel meets meat in the street. The melee avoids the tavern. Everybody stays silent and safe until a man stands. He's young and strong and has the aspect of a warrior, and he begins to berate the men of Kitford for being cowards. He tells them that their home is at stake and that they should go and fight, and unfortunately, he is very convincing. Even I admire him, but I fear the consequences of his actions for those of us who stay behind. Neither Gillen nor any of his older compatriots are able to stop this young warrior and his newly inspired zealots from exiting the tavern and joining the brawl in the street, which is great for him, but very bad for everyone else, who has now been exposed to the brawl outside. Gillen attempts to close and rebar the door, but it is too late. The raiders have noticed and someone is outside. The door shudders, splinters, and begins to crumple inwards. What will you do? You stand and admire your most prized possession, a Legionnaire's longsword of blued steel, an item that buys you respect wherever you go, the very same item that you stole from your commander before you deserted and ran like the coward that you were. You have to fight tonight, but not because you know or love these people. You have to fight because if you don't, then you are still that coward who ran and defiled your name and self-image and self-respect. You draw the weapon. You are afraid, but you are not ashamed of it because you are no longer a coward. And now, you get to prove it. Gillen sees that the door will not hold but a few seconds, so he unlocks it and throws it open. Hopefully, he can close it later. 3 men pour through, angry, afraid, ugly. They are fleeing the melee outside, but they cannot be seen to run, so they wear faces of anger and aggression. They charge forwards and are met by a few older men. Your conscious mind and survival instincts scream and rake at each other's throats as you fight not to run. You succeed. Training takes over. You grapple, you're on the ground, you're on your feet. By the time it's over and you wake up, clear your eyes, you're still alive. The door is closed and rebarred, and a boy, perhaps 2 years, 3 years younger than yourself, fires arrows from a hunting bow through a fist-sized hole at its center. The remaining men within dig in and prepare for the next wave. It never comes. The melee outside quiets. The raiders leave, shrieking, victorious. What was their objective? Why have they gone? Either way, you have survived. What will you do? You have little experience in the healing of the wounded, but you do your best and your efforts are appreciated. As you prowl the streets offering your help wherever you can, you notice someone. The warrior who broke the silence within the tavern. He is hailed by the men outside as a hero of the battle, greatly respected and greatly feared, but you wonder if his efforts outside made up for the deaths caused inside, or even if such a calculus makes sense in this situation given the unusual nature of the raid. What did the raiders want? They seem not to have taken anything with them, so perhaps they were after a person or an item. You watch the young warrior as a miracle unfolds. Wounds to his body that should have already killed him heal. They knit together as though deft fingers were sewing them shut with invisible twine. Soon, all that is left are a series of silvery scars. You will talk to this man later and learn of his secrets, but for now, you are safe. Congratulations, you have made all of the same decisions made by the original player of this game. Thank you for playing, and have a wonderful day. You slip out of the door and look around. Kitford's front gate is aflame from the outside and has begun to take a battering that it will not survive for more than a few minutes. All around, windows are shuttered and doors are locked, and people prepare to cower in their homes. Within the citadel, a celebratory banquet has ground to a halt, and now half-drunken men prepare to defend their home. Their prospects are not strong. As you begin to walk down the street, something catches your eye. It seems that the sign above the tavern has changed. When you arrived, it read Magma, and now it reads Gamma, which would not be so strange if the letters themselves had just been switched around, but they have not. If your memory serves, and it always does, then the handcrafted, hand-carved letters have simply changed shape. That's peculiar, but you have no time to ponder on it because the raiders have breached Kitford's west gate. A militia force musters on the east side, and you are caught in between. What will you do? You fall into a line of half-drunken militiamen, still shouldering their weapons and armor. Those who have armor, that is. You are afraid, and so are they, because the force that is now pouring through a fissure in the gate is nearly twice the size of your own. You look to your left and you see a man who you'd never thought you would see again, a veteran legionnaire named Captain Corrin, from whom you stole the very sword that now rests on your back. He was good to you, a father figure almost, and you were a coward. You know that. You feel the shame, but not right now, because the fear is stronger. He doesn't look to you. He likely doesn't recognize you, and if he does, he has bigger problems to deal with than a deserter. He begins to sing a plow song. You're not familiar with it, but everyone else is, and they begin to sing it as well. The song holds the militiamen lined together as a superior raider force bands and begins to move forwards. A boy, the youngest man in the line and the man immediately to your right, falls. A crossbow bolt protrudes from his right thigh. This is your chance to avoid the coming onslaught that will soon beset and destroy every man in this line. What will you do? Like every boy, you have fantasized about valiantly facing an honorable end, staring into the face of a superior enemy and defying him until your last breath, but honor has no place among your thoughts now. All you can think of is fear, regret, hopelessness, and focus. Your focus bears you to the most defensible position you can find, with your back to the door of the tavern from which you just emerged. You hold fast to this position and do what you can while preserving your own life until the door is thrown open from behind you. This is the least you expected, and now you are panicked. You are stumbling forwards, off balance, into the center of a melee which you have no control over. And now, your fear takes over. You run, you stagger, you're hit, you are knocked, you are cut, you are on the ground. Are you still alive? You think so. You scramble, you are cut again. You attempt to move, but you cannot. Your legs don't work. Did your legs work before? You can't remember. Panic takes over and you lie completely still. The battle rages over you. It passes over you. You're safe, you think. You begin to gather your bearings, but you can't see anyone. It's dark. You thought you were looking at the sky, but you aren't. There are no stars, there are no clouds, there is no fire. You can still hear the sounds of men, but you can't see them. You open your eyes. Nothing happens. Are you dead? Maybe. The consideration of your own death strangles your mind. It is all you can think of. The answer to the question, am I dead, must be no. Right up until it isn't anymore. You have found the least desirable ending to this chapter. If you like, I encourage you to retrace your steps and find a better one. But if not, thank you for playing, and have a great day. You pull the boy off of the main wayfare into safety just before the chaos begins. The bolt is not deep, so you remove it and then fashion a compress out of the boy's shirt and belt. All the while, you wonder whether or not you will rejoin the chaos or leave after your medical work is done. The decision is made for you. You look up towards the sound of chaos and see a man, bloodied but not injured. He crouches. You don't recognize him. He is a raider, he's looking at you and this boy are his non-cowardly way out of the most terrifying experience of his life. What will you do? The man who approaches you is heavier than you, but not much larger. He does not hold his weapon like a soldier. He has the aspect of a farmer, and fear is evident in his eyes, not of you, but of this entire hellish situation. He is inexperienced, and it gives you comfort and courage to know that you are the better trained of the two. Still, you take your time. The two of you stretch out your stalemate. Each of you knows that each second you spend staring at one another is a second you do not have to spend on the real street, fighting the real battle. So you wait. You stare. Eventually his resolve falters and you seize your opportunity. You strike. His defense is staggered and panicky. You cut his leg. You cut his other leg. You cut it again. He falls. He surrenders. And you allow him to. The interaction is entirely nonverbal, but both parties understand exactly what has gone on. He crawls slowly away from you and you allow him to do so. By the time he reaches the street and climbs to his feet, the sounds of clamor are gone. He runs. You lose sight of him. You peer out of the alley yourself and see that the battle has moved on. There are men in the street, but they are horizontal, not vertical, and very few of them still hold weapons. You have survived. What will you do? You slip quietly away from the mounting noise and confusion and wend your way through a sleepy residential row. You arrive at the back gate where a single sentry stands guard. He can hear the noise, but has yet to figure out what is going on, so he asks you, with great curiosity and mild panic, what is going on. What will you tell him? You look into his eyes, smile, and tell him that you have no idea, but you have a long night's travel ahead of you and that you had better get going. He returns your smile and pats you on the shoulder. He tells you to have a fortunate travel and lets you go. You walk away into the night, leaving the chaos behind you. You have fled, but you are safe. You tell him that Kitford is soon to be under attack, and you can tell by the reaction on his face that he has someone, or perhaps some ones, that he cares very, very much for within these walls. He can see the longsword upon your back, and he assumes what every other man assumes when they see it, that you are a legionnaire, perhaps even a veteran given the quality of the blade, even at your young age. He hastily locks the back gate, and then calls upon you to follow him and help the men of Kitford. With your avenue of escape closed off, you have no choice but to follow him back onto Kitford's main street. Here, a group of half-drunk men hurriedly prepare to face a much larger force and defend their small town. Their odds are not good. What will you do? The men around you are lost in preparation and fear, and you seize the moment to slip away. You retrace your steps back to the back gate and slowly pick open the lock using the tip of your blade. It is soft iron and it comes apart in the matter of seconds. You shut the door behind you and set off into the night. It weighs on you that you ran in the way that you did, but you are glad to be free and safe. The battle is over, and nobody stops you from slipping down the street and out of the front gate. You can still feel the sensations of panic, but they begin to fade as you walk down. You can still feel the sensations of panic, but they begin to fade as you walk down the empty road into the night. You are glad to be free and safe.